Okay, today we were playing a game on Blizzard World. We were playing Junkrat the entire way through, and there is no SR for today's game because it was a placement game. We are also on the console today, so consider yourself forewarned. Before we start, we're going to look at something in the email, because I went to the email for today's game and went, oh, fucking hell. There was something I should have answered on Sunday like 3 weeks ago, so just going to do it now before we start. It won't be very long, I promise. So, want to know for this, also for your Sunday QA, want to know if there's anything you collect. You seem the type to have a unique collection of some sort. I would, but I basically just don't have the money to collect things. When I was in the UK, I used to collect paperweights, which is of course extremely interesting, and as you can tell, I was a real social butterfly. But I couldn't really bring that with me overseas, so I ended up having to leave it behind, and I'm too poor to collect things, though there are a bunch of things that I would collect. Basically, anytime like a collector's edition for something comes out, I'm like, I'd get that, but it's like $100, and I got and then I open the wallet and like the fly comes out, you know? Alright, we won't be buying that. So, no, but I would. So, now, let's start the game. So, attacking first. We've got Roadhog Diva as our tanks when we're attacking, so that's very exciting. To be fair, it is worse if you're defending and you have that kind of tank combo, because you just can't hold the ground. So the enemy team does have a Tracer, so we put a trap behind us, which is, you know, as you would. Oh, you see that Moira orb floating right there? That's because I went back in the replay at the time. Moira's orb tends to do that if you rewind while the orb was on screen at some point. So, Tracer's behind us now. We're after the Tracer. Slowly chasing her down. Fight's kind of happening upstairs, but we're trying to deal with the Tracer situation. She went right on that trap we placed earlier. So we got her. Fantastic. Fight did happen while we were gone, but our team managed to gain no ground while it was happening. And now we're going in. I don't really like how just boldly we did that, really, because I mean, like, the thing is, it's just like, your team's probably not going to follow you, you know? You don't really want to be like the front line when you're playing DPS anyway. But like, if you're reasonably sure you can make something happen, you expect your team to follow you, you can get away with it, but like, I don't believe in people that strongly. It's essentially how it goes. Also, we need to do like this part way faster if we're going to go up on the Hanzo, because we basically like come around the corner, and then it still takes us a second to like actually execute the plan, right? Because like, obviously plans to get to Hanzo, right? Not necessarily a bad plan. Snipers don't really like when you're on top of them. But, like, it's gotta be, like, come around the corner, boom, immediately get up there. Also, we're doing this and we don't have a mine when we get there. This is a sort of play you'd want to do when you have 2 mines ready. Because it's a kind of a state, it's kind of a process, right? Where you're gonna come around the corner, you're gonna go up there, but, like, when you're dealing with somebody that can kill you really quickly like Hanzo, you want to kill them quickly as well. Hanzo's alone, so it's like relatively safe to go for, but you're going to want to have a mine ready when you go up there, because you're going to want to go like hit him with a bomb, throw the mine at him to finish him off. Instead, we're like arriving as the mine's coming off cooldown as well. But just like the initial like getting up to him needs to be quicker as well. Junkrat in general is not great at that kind of play, just because he can't really cover that distance very, like, quickly, you know? Like, it's not like a Genji dashing up to you. It's like, he can get there quicker than a lot of people, but it's still not exactly a lightning-fast operation. So here, we just don't really need to jump down. Like, we could just stay up there, and this is, you gotta have a mine ready when you do this kind of thing as well, because that's like an aggressive play we're making, and you can make some really aggressive plays with Junkrat because he has like really high burst potential. So like sometimes you can just like muscle your way straight into the enemy team and just like throw a bomb at them and then mine and then get away. But you gotta have a mine when you go in, because the mine's how you get out again, right? You gotta think the whole plan through when you're gonna do something aggressive, because this is people do this, where they're like, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna do the thing, but then they don't think about what comes after that, right? Because, like, you go in, you do the thing, alright, and then what? And also, what if something goes wrong, right? For Junkrat, that's having two minds, because the mind is how you get back out again when you've done the thing. It's probably how you execute the thing anyway, because you're going to try and use it to finish the guy off, probably. And it's what you use if something goes wrong, right? Like, everything, when you're making an aggressive play with Junkrat, kind of hinges on the mind. So, like, when you go in, you really got to have a mind, just, like, to get out again, pretty much. Unless you're... Maybe if you're performing some kind of, like, coordinated play with your team, put, like, coordinated plays with your team in Overwatch. Wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that be funny? Anyway, so, we've got some momentum going now. Basically, our whole team has their ults ready, and, like, we're not that far off, so it's, you know, things are looking pretty good. We did not get away from the Reinhardt on that one. Why is Reinhardt even up here, to be honest with you? But, you know, whatever, it's what he's doing. So, didn't bomb away correctly. Could have also thrown, like, a trap at your feet as you're backing up as well, because he's gonna be hesitant to just walk over the trap, even if he feasibly could before it arms. Like, the trap's got a pretty big vacuum on him, so you could, like, throw it down to, like, maybe catch him or maybe deter him as well. Because usually people kind of stop when they see you, like, throw a mine down, unless they're, like, right on top of you when you do it. And, you know, we didn't bomb away correctly. Yeah, you know, whatever, it happens. So, fights ended up actually going pretty badly in our absence, but we're in a pretty good position right now. We're going to use Riptire as well, get the Reinhardt, and we got the Baptiste as well. Wow, fantastic. We have a trip mine ready this time, so I wasn't bothered about that one. We also just got to back up as well, so that was nice. This is a really wide track into open space we just took. Because we're currently fighting against a Reaper, sure. There's also a McCree over here, though, so we really don't want to do this thing where we just, like, go right across this open space. We want to, like, stick to the cover. Because, like, this payload is also not really great cover on this map. We just kind of, like, walked across the street, which makes it really easy for someone like McCree, because, hey, you're just walking out into open space. We also did go in, like, a really straight line as well, which also helps him. You know, try and think about cover when you're fighting against these long-range people. This was also, like, really risky even before the part that got, like, really bad, because the Baptiste's using his ultimate over there. We know Baptiste's over there, and McCree's over there as well, so, like, you can pretty suddenly die when you're walking in front of the window. And then we, like, go in to do this. Pretty bold play. It's one of those things that's like, what's the reward for this, right? Like, even if this all goes perfectly, like, what's the potential reward for this play? We, like, boot them all out of position a little bit. Reinhardt's not gonna die. Those guys back there aren't gonna die. So the most we're getting out of this is maybe a positional change, right? This is not a great reward for the amount of risk we're putting ourselves in, which is very fucking high, because we're going, like, right up to these guys. The thing with Junkrat is you don't need to do this kind of aggressive play, right? Because, like, we can just sit back here, and the Baptiste using his ultimate, but we can just sit back here and use the geometry around to, like, throw bombs in there, right? Like, we can even just stand back here and shoot into that area, because this is kind of a hard angle for them to see us from anyway. Or we can back up and try and bounce them off the walls and stuff, right? We just don't need to, like, do this kind of big play. If we're feeling, like, a little spicier than that, we could, like, go in through the building and, like, snake around the inside to try and get, like, a different angle at them, or we could jump up onto the high ground and just shoot down at them from up there. Same deal again, you know, Junkrat, you don't really need a super direct line of sight because of the gun. So you can, again, just, like, employ geometry. If we're afraid of getting shot, we can jump up and bounce them off this screen up here, you know, if we're afraid of peeking over the edge. You just don't need to, like, do this kind of, like, big play. Because Junkrat's, thing is just that you do, like, a lot of area damage, right? And you just, like, clog up choke points. So the best thing you can, like, usually do, unless you see, like, a really good opportunity to go in and make an aggressive play, is just sit back and spam into the area. It's like what the character is really good at. It's just, like, dumping a lot of damage into, like, ideally a confined area. Which is not, you know, as you get further into the second checkpoint, it gets a little harder on Blizzard Worlds. Because it starts opening up towards the end of the track, but, you know, like, you can still just spam damage into the general area of the track, and, like, it's all still good, you know? It's what he does. So, this play I'm actually not bothered about because we did have 2 bombs ready. Now we don't have any bombs to get back out again, so we've, again, left ourselves with no escape plan. You know, like, the play itself I'm actually pretty on board with because this was a pretty good-looking opportunity. Because we peek over the edge, and we see Baptiste, Moira as well, though Moira's way harder to kill than Baptiste is, and McCree as well, but, like, if we do this quickly, McCree won't even know what the fuck, right? So I'm okay with this plan, because we got 2 mines ready, so we can just jump down, try and throw the bomb into, because, like, this is how you execute people when you get in on them with Junkrat, right? You just, like, press right up against them so you can't fucking miss, just left-click into them once, throw the mine, and then you concussive blast away at the same time. We end up messing it up. Whatever, you know, that happens. We did try to melee the guy as well. Not really necessary for the plan, because you can just... Oh, we did fire the bomb as well. It just ended up missing, actually, so, you know, whatever. But, like, the throwing of the second mine is now like, ah, fuck, now what are we gonna do, right? If we start getting, like, if it goes badly, now we can't get out again. We actually did get the Moira, though, so that's nice. So I was okay with it on a conceptual level. The execution, you know, whatever, execution. But then the chucking of the second mine was really like, now there's no way back out again. To be honest, could have been a frustration thing. I can easily see myself doing that, where I'm like, ah, fuck, I missed, god damn it, and then I just throw the other mine because I'm mad. I can see myself doing that, to be fair. But that was the point where the plan was like, alright, we should have just gotten out, really. But I can easily imagine myself or someone else being like, oh, god, well, now I gotta try. I gotta throw the other one at him now. So we got Riptire built up. We're gonna use Riptire now, send it around the backside. Hey, we got the Moira. Moira is a risky one to go for because of Fade, but it didn't look like she actually saw the tire coming, so it's pretty safe, because she was kind of looking off to the side. Reaper's using Death Blossom. You be careful chucking the mine when he's using Death Blossom, because you can end up making the situation worse. We didn't in this situation, but, like, I can remember just, like, on stream, like, 2 weeks ago, this happened where I was safe, and my friend threw a mine at him. And and suddenly I just watched him, Death Blossom, just slowly float over to me, and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. You can make it worse if you throw the concussive mine at Reaper. It's one of those things where you're like, you can be pretty sure it's gonna kill him. Or you gotta be real confident in, like, the geometry you're gonna bump him in, because you can really end up making it worse if you mine him the wrong way. We did manage to get the McCree as he was backing up there. It's not really gonna mean much, because we're currently in, like, the really early stage of pushing on the checkpoint, so it doesn't really matter if he got picked off that early. This is very aggressive, but again, we have another mine, so I'm not bothered. Now I'm more bothered again. Like, because if we're up here, it's, like, actually kind of hard to shoot people when they're on this high ground, unless you're in the right spot. So, like, you know, we missed the guy, whatever. If we shoot him and then hit him with the mine, he's dead. Fantastic, we kill a healer, right? We didn't do it, whatever. Just don't jump down. It's like a really big risk, pretty much. Especially since we're already half health. If we were actually full health, I might have still been okay with it if we went for it, because we could still try and kill him and blast ourselves out with the mine as well. Because you can use the mine to get the kill and escape at the same time. But at half health, it's way too risky to keep going for it at that point. That's just when you want to get out at that point. So this checkpoint is good for Junkrat again, because it's a pretty confined space. It's not super confined. Like, there's better maps for Junkrat. Like, Dorado's checkpoint, or choke point, rather, is really fucking good for Junkrat. It's not quite that, but, like, it's still pretty good in here. We're getting way too close to this Reinhardt right now. We are, like, going with the wall, so it feels pretty safe, because we are going with the Symmetra wall, but 70 health, Reinhardt swing does 75. Fire Strike also goes through shield, so if Reinhardt wasn't right there, I might have been okay with it just because of the Symmetra wall, but with Reinhardt being there, it's way too risky. So, fight's still going okay-ish until they got Earth-Shattered right there, but this is the last fight. We're in overtime now, so we just use Riptire anyway. We end up getting the McCree. Baptiste used the Lamp, so we weren't going to be getting anybody else. And now, we're starting to get some momentum again. Oh, we might have actually been going away. No, that just happened, I think, actually. We do the thing where we track across, like, really open space again right here. It's not so bad, because we do have sound barrier right now as well. But, like, we're just out in open space again right now. Gotta think about the cover, right? Because the payload is pretty shitty cover on this map. So, don't really want to just trek out across open space. Especially against teams that have got, like, a Baptiste and a McCree on them. Because you can suddenly end up dying pretty quickly. So, that would have been a good time to throw a mine in. Because there's a lot of people that are really low health. Good chance of killing people in there. At the very least, you'll split them all up. Right, like, just like right here. Just chuck the mine in there. That would have been fine. We probably saw their health bars, but, like, just chuck the mine in there. Split them all apart, but, like, probably kill a bunch of people in there as well. It doesn't matter. We won. We were going to kill them all basically anyway. It was going to be pretty miraculous if they survived that, so it's more of a nitpicky thing than anything else. So, now we're defending. We're defending again with Roadhog and Diva. You can get away with that kind of tank combo on attack a lot easier than you can in defense, because defense is just way harder to hold ground if you don't have a main tank. So, it's a little scary. It's a little scary. So the email did also ask specifically about more stuff on defense, like what would prompt me to move to a new position. So, this position up here, this is a good place to be. But the thing is, it's kind of hard to maintain control of this area. So standing up here is cool and all, but you've got to be, like, careful once they start pushing in, because they can get up on you real quick. Now, Junkrat can reposition pretty quickly, so it's not a huge deal once they do start coming in, but when you are standing up here, you got to kind of be willing to concede this high ground when the enemy team starts pushing in, because it can be hard to stay up here once they start pushing in on you. The Mei wall is annoying, but peeking like this is not a good idea, because we're putting ourselves... It's very easy to hit us, basically, when we do this. Because currently we're, like, sandwiched really tightly between the wall and the hay bale on our side. So there's really nowhere we can dodge to right now. So it makes it very easy for the Mei to hit us, because she knows we can only really go forwards and back. There's no, like, side to side we can really do there. So peeking like that's very risky, because it's making yourself very easy to get shot, because they know there's not many ways you can move. So we did do a bunch of damage to the Mei. Didn't end up killing her. She is still behind us. We seem cognizant of this. Yeah, we're looking for her as your background. Oh, caught a glimpse of her right there. Could have just chucked the trap in that doorway as well, because that's one of two likely candidates. That's also fine, though a little less good because it's easier to get around it. Because really, if Mei's going to do something aggressive from the position she's in, she's only really got two options. And one is this doorway and that path back there. If you put a trap here, it pretty much completely locks down that doorway, because you can't walk around it if it's in the middle, right? So she's either going to step on it or she's going to have to break it. Either way, we know she's there now. Whereas the trap over here, it's way easier to just walk around it. Like, Mei just has to not be paying attention to fall for that one. So it's better to put the trap over there and keep an eye on that rather than vice versa, because this is just way more limited if a trap is placed there. We saw the projectile, but I don't think we knew where it came from. But she was over on the other side. Now we're getting into a scuffle with her. again, kind of just, like, made it easy for her to shoot us. Not because we put ourselves in, like, a confined location, but because we just, like, keep walking backwards in, like, a straight line. Want to put a little zigzag on it, just make it a little bit harder to get hit, you know? Then we end up killing her with geometry around the wall. Fantastic. We've diffused the Mei situation. It took us a while to deal with it, but one person versus Mei is kind of a problem if you don't have any CC. So, you know, we dealt with it. It only took us. That's fine. It was a DPS for a DPS. Things stay relatively even at the front. Mostly I'm just happy that we did, like, take effort to resolve that situation. Because, like, look, it might seem obvious you don't want to leave the Mei behind you, but I can assure you I've seen plenty of people that would just walk off and, like, resume doing stuff, and then, like, that Mei situation will take care of itself. So I'm really just glad that we, like, took effort to deal with the Mei situation. It took a while, but it's always gonna kinda take a while, regardless, versus Mei, unless you're somebody with CC. So that's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of play we're looking for. Then we go for the Riptire follow-up as well. I wasn't super happy with the Riptire, just because there's a lot that can go wrong, but it was only Orisa that was, like, next to us, so it was like, he's probably not gonna break the tire or kill us. Using the Riptire is, like, iffy. I'm not overly bothered about it, because it was still kind of an even fight, but, like, we were very clearly starting to lose momentum in that fight, so using it is kind of, in general. I'm not really bothered about it, because Riptire is a pretty fast-charging ultimate, so I'm not, like, hugely bothered. The fight, maybe if we could kill a few people with the Riptire, maybe it works out, you know. I'm not hugely bothered about it, just because I don't consider Riptire, like, if you use a Riptire and you don't really get a huge amount out of it, it's like, whatever, you know, I'll get another one in, like, 40-ish seconds, right? Like, it's not a huge deal. Same with, like, Nano Boost. I'm not really bothered if I don't get huge value out of Nano Boost, because it charges so quickly. So we go in on the Reinhardt. Little, you know, it could have gone a little better, but I'm not really bothered about it, because there's a lot of people near us, and he's way out of position, so we do want to try and get the guy. One of those things, I'm glad that we just went for it to begin with, even if it wasn't, like, super clean. Alright, we got him. Good, cool. Even if it wasn't super clean, I'm just glad we went for it, because the Rhine was out of position, and we do want to punish him for it. So I'm glad we just did it, just, like, on a conceptual level. It's good we're punishing the guy for being out of position. Even if it's not super clean, the concept is more important to me than anything else. The fact that we tried to do it, even if it got a little messy. Because it's knowing to do things in concept that's the more important part, right? Like, if execution is whatever. That was mad risky, because this is not our Transcendence. Like, it's not gonna kill the guy, pretty much. I don't know if Junkrat can. Maybe if you're, like, super quick when you do it, he can kill somebody just barely. Probably not. Because, like, Genji can just barely do it with the cut dash, and I'm pretty sure that's more than Junkrat can do. I'm not going to crunch the numbers on that one. Basically, we should have just tried to get out, rather than continuing to try and do damage. Even just, like, ducking into the room on the left-hand side, try to cut back around that way would have been alright as well. Like, basically, it's getting bad, and we want to try and get out, rather than, like, staying in and probably not working out. It most likely not working out, rather. So, we've got Riptire built up. It's not looking good. Nah, I definitely wouldn't. I was thinking I might still use Riptire, because we lost the 2 healers, but, like, maybe we can make him lose enough momentum. We got time for the healers to come back, 'cause it's not a huge walk back. Then those 2 died. Nah, it's not worth even the attempt anymore. The Riptire would have to be their whole team to be worth it anymore. So now we're using Riptire right here. Not bothered about this. You know, Baptiste used his lamp. Mei actually found us, so hey, you know, good on Mei, I suppose. I'm not really bothered with doing that. I would have liked to wait a little bit longer, just because of how I, like, think about payload maps, really. Because, like, with hybrid and payload maps, there's like this thing with most checkpoints in the game, not all of them, but with most of them, where there's a point right at the beginning of the checkpoint where it's like pretty much free that you're gonna push it this distance, right? Like, more or less regardless of what happens, because the defending team just can't realistically defend that far up. So as far as I see it, like, if you try and make something happen while they're still in that free pushing stage, you're not getting anything, right? So for like the third point on Blizzard World, it's pretty much free right up until the first bend coming into the actual like haunted house, right? Everything before that is pretty fucking easy to push, so I'm not super keen to do anything like before they get to that turn pretty much, but at the same time, Riptire is really good at just picking people off, and it's never really bad to pick somebody off, so I would have liked to waited like 5-10 more seconds, but it's like not really a huge deal. It's just, that's how I like think about like payload maps though, is that there's like the free period. So we're trying to get the bongo, we got the bongo, hooray. Self-destruct's going in, but they've got like 4 different things happening right now that's gonna stop the self-destruct, so, you know, not gonna work out super well. Orisa being there is really weird. I will give you that. We didn't see her go that way either. To be fair, I would have also been surprised. But it is one of those things where you want to, like, check that corner, you know, before you start going that way. But I can easily see that happening to me as well, where I would have been like, Orisa was over here? So, like, not like hugely hugely bothered about it, but it is a corner you want to like, anybody there before you start walking that way. But I can also understand getting, you know, taken by surprise by the Orisa being over there. So we don't get to have another turn because they captured it with more than a minute and we were in overtime. This only matters for 2CP and hybrid maps, but you know, sometimes you get fucked like that. So the best we can do now is draw, which is always super exciting. It's just really hard to hold ground with like the tank combo we have. Junkrat can help with this because it is very, Junkrat spam is very good at slowing people down moving through choke points. But Blizzard World also doesn't have super firm choke points, except for like the first point, sure, but like they're not great choke points, and then it just starts kind of getting worse after that. Then it closes back down a bit again a bit on the third point. So this whole thing that we did right here, I'm not big into it. Like, the placement is a little easy to spot, for one thing, just like coming up the staircase, though it does like, you're not really gonna get a super out of the way position into there. I'm mostly just like, this took a lot of time, and we're like, it's probably not gonna do anything, right? Like, it's not a great trap, and it took kind of a while to do that. That whole time we're not like spamming into the choke point, which is making it easier for them to walk in at us, right? And like with the team comp we've got right now, if they start pushing, it's quite hard for us to slow them down because our front line is lacking again. Roadhog just got picked off, so that's obviously terrible. We've got Riptire. We can maybe bounce it back around again. Didn't quite get the Reinhardt. Almost, but not quite. And now we're really losing ground. Oh, got Reinhardt with the trap. That's pretty good. Again, just tracking backwards in like a straight line. Not ideal. You want to put a little bit of zigzag on it. Try to just avoid walking in like one direction for an extended period of time without like doing something to alter your movement a little bit, you know, like a little bit of side to side, crouch uncrouch, just something. Just try not to go in like a straight line in any direction for too long, because it makes it really easy to track you once you start doing that. So there wasn't really much for me to say like on the defensive stuff specifically, really, because we started losing ground really fast. So I want to try and answer like the question more in sort of a vague term, I suppose. So with defense, what you're really trying to do is you're trying to set up somewhere like, especially with Junkrat, where your main thing is that you're spamming into like the main thoroughfare as much as you can, right? Like Soldier, Junkrat, even like McCree, Torbjorn, they all have like a similar kind of deal where they really want to get like a pretty safe position where they have like a decent line of sight, and then they can just like just jam into that area, right? So like up there is fine for Junkrat. Again, you have to be willing to give it up, but like another like good spot is over here. This is where I like to stand with basically everybody that we just covered, because when you're over here, you can see the whole way down again, because you can actually see like completely out the gates and up to the ledge and everything. But like that position is so much safer, and you have slightly better vision over the area as well. Because if you're like up there, if you're up on the high ground part, they can like break away and get through the doorway quickly, and then like you basically just have to give up on the high ground because it's not safe anymore. If you're over here, that doesn't threaten you because there's no like shortcut to that position, right? They like have to come down the main channel at you. And if you're playing like a spammy hero like Junkrat, while the whole time they're running at you, they have to funnel through this pretty narrow area again, because they have to like go through the gate, past the statue, past the corner on the Snax Ramus, right? Like, and then up along the wall. That's like a really long way to go versus a very spammy hero. Like this is just very safe. Spammy area, very good to just like sit up and just like, it's just hard to cover all that distance while you're getting shot at the whole time going up to him, you know, unless you're going to move very quickly or you're very good at using cover. So that's like what you're trying to find, and then you're just like, knowing when to fall back is basically just about, or find a new position, is just about knowing when you're threatened, and then moving away to avoid that. And then you want to try and move to a point that also fulfills a similar goal for what you're going for, right? So with like this example over here, we're still trying to do the same thing. We're still trying to find a safe position that gives us a good view of the area so that we can just spam our damage into it, right? So if they push up that way on us, we can just come and stand on the other side of the point, like pretty much where we are right now, though a little bit closer to the corner on our right-hand side from where we are, or up on the high ground above behind the point, because that's also a pretty safe position, gives you a good view, and high ground's always good. Right, like, there are, all checkpoints basically have like a few places that'll give you really good cover, or really good coverage would be a better way to say that. With a hero like Junkrat, with like, you're not necessarily looking for the same thing with like a Genji, right? Because Genji's trying to do something different, because he's not like a spammy suppression type hero like Junkrat or Soldier is. So he's taking different angles. But someone like Junkrat, someone like Soldier, you want big lines of sight, safety, and ideally like a narrow area you can just chuck damage into. This varies a lot by map to map. That's like what I'll give you for the advice on, for like this specific point. What's another obvious one that I can think of offhand? I guess Dorado, you got the first checkpoint, you got the high ground that you stand on for as long as you can. As soon as they start contesting you, you just fall back to like the water fountain, right? And it was just a fountain. And then you just sort of play around that, spam into the choke point as much as you can. If they start pushing up to the fountain, then you fall back to like the staircase near the gates, coming from the defending spawn. You can like fall back up to there if they start pushing past the fountain. It's basically like there's like stages of defense that you go through. You take like the most safe but aggressive position you can find at the start. Once that no longer becomes safe to hold because they're pushing up too far, you fall back to the second one. If they start taking that as well, then you fall back to the third one. And if like you're on a point that's got more than 3, that's a pretty fucking wild checkpoint you're playing on. So Where those points are varies a lot by map to map, but you're kind of looking for the same thing with Junkrat. Good line of sight, safe, cover big area I can cover in, I can spam into. Soldier as well, because I know you also play Soldier. So, also in the email, there was another one. This was about Ilios specifically. Which obviously this game isn't, because I didn't end up getting to record that game, but this was... Ilios seems more difficult for me with Junkrat my other DPS Soldier. Do you think that map is easier to get value out of Soldier over Junk? I think Ilios is pretty close. Because Ruins is good for, on Ilios is good for both of them, for the same reasons pretty much. Junkrat's probably a little better because he can cover a wider area than Soldier can. Because Ruin is very narrow, very straight lines, lots of like tiny areas to get people caught in, right? But Soldier can only really focus the area he can directly see. Junkrat doesn't need direct line of sight, so Junkrat's probably a little better on Ruin than Soldier is, but really not by much. And the other two? It's pretty close. It's pretty close. I could see myself going either way, depending on the day you asked me. Lighthouse is probably slightly better for Soldier, because there's high ground to control, which Soldier's a little better on than Junkrat is. But even then, like, Lighthouse's checkpoint is really enclosed, which Junkrat also likes enclosed spaces. And then the alleyways are also very enclosed, of course. But then there is the big open plaza, which Soldier can get better overall coverage on. It's really close. Well is probably Soldier. But then I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, but if you're just, like, still on the opposite sides of Well, and, like, your side's getting spammed into the Junkrat, it's really fucking annoying. But you can say the same thing about Soldier. It's close. I think Ilios is really close between Junkrat and Soldier overall. I think overall I'd probably go Junkrat, but really not by much, like a very narrow amount. I think it's pretty close. Because they kind of want similar things, you know? Yeah, it's close. It's really close. I think it would be a matter of preference more than anything else. They want similar things out of maps, and Ilios, it caters to both of them. With the exception of City Center, which plays a little bit more into high ground, but to be fair, also that high ground is kind of hard to control. Especially on a King of the Hill map, where you're more likely to be playing against divers and flankers. It's close. It's close, is the moral of the story. And then... Should I play with my teammates more from what you can see of my team, my gameplay? Am I going on semi-flank to full flank too often? This was about the Ilios game again, or in that email specifically, so obviously I can't see that game, but I've seen a few of your games now, and I think overall you're a little too eager to flank people. At least with, like, Junkrat and Soldier are not super great at this, though you can do aggressive stuff with Junkrat. But the main thing they bring is, like, big area suppression, big damage, right? And, like, flanking just kind of inherently takes away from that, because while you're going on these flanks, you're typically not doing anything because there's, like, a setup period for a flank, right? They're also just not great at getting in and out, which is a thing for flankers, though Junkrat can do it. It just takes a little bit of a process, because you kind of need the mines. But, like, based off of your game, all the games that I've seen from you, you're a little too eager to go for the big flank plays, when you can just, like, sit back and chill with Junkrat, and you're getting, like, a lot of value, because you're just spamming a lot of damage into him. To be fair with a game like this, is your team comp kind of makes sticking together worse because your tank line is bad, which you can't do anything about, right? But, like, when your tanks run like Roadhog Diva, it's a lot harder to form like just like a centralized location that you play around, because when you do that, you're playing around the shield you have, right? And Roadhog and D.Va don't have a shield. So it's a little harder with this kind of team comp to really sit back and just do team play spammy stuff, because your team tends to be more like spread out pretty much. But overall, don't be afraid to just like sit back and spam into the area, you know? Like, it just makes it really fucking hard, right? I think the problem the Junkrat players do run into, and Soldier players as well, is that you can kind of feel like you're not really doing anything when you're just kind of like spamming into an area, right? Because you don't necessarily feel hugely productive when you're just spamming into the shield a lot and you're not really like getting any kills necessarily. But like, while killing people is great, Junkrat is really good at denying areas to people by just spamming into the area, right? You don't even need to kill people, because the risk of them dying if they push through the area you're spamming into is kind of just high in general. This is why, like, when you're on Anubis and you're attacking, if you're attacking against a Junkrat, you don't want to go left on the first checkpoint, because that area is so confined that Junkrat can just, like, lay into the area, and you can't push up safely because there's a risk you're going to walk around that corner and just die. So, like, even if you don't kill them, if they start pushing that way and you just, like, chuck shit in there constantly, even if you don't kill them, they can't push because they need to wait till they find an opportunity to do so. But you don't necessarily feel productive if you're not killing them, right? But, like, just spamming into an area, you're laying down a threat that you're taking space away from them by just spamming into the area. And you're making it difficult to approach. So even if it's not killing anybody, don't necessarily be too bothered about that if you feel like you're making it hard for them to advance. Because that's really the goal, right? It's not strictly that you're trying to kill them, it's that you're trying to stop them from pushing, which is not the same thing exactly. It can be. If you kill them, they're not pushing, but there's ways to stop them from pushing without killing them. But it doesn't necessarily feel productive, right? Like when, like, you tell somebody to change to Winston because Genji's wrecking your backline, right? But then the Winston, like, he doesn't want to just sit in the back because he doesn't feel productive, right? Because he's just sitting back there not doing anything. So then he just goes and, like, jumps into the enemy team anyway, and then Genji kills the backline regardless. When, like, Winston just sitting on the backline is taking space away from Genji, right? Because he can't, like, easily try and kill somebody if they're next to Winston. So Winston's not killing anybody, but he's still denying space from Genji just by being there. That kind of thing with Junkrat, right? Though a little bit more obviously, because Winston, in the Winston example, is literally just him standing there kind of takes space away. Junkrat's kind of proactively doing something to take space away, right? Whereas the Winston example is more passively taking space away. Hopefully that makes sense. That was very rambling, so we're gonna stop now. I feel like I was talking at the end for like 15 or 20 minutes, so we're gonna stop now. So thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. If you felt I answered your questions from the email inadequately, please let me know and I will try to expand further. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord and ask questions more directly, have a conversation about them, or just shitpost with us. I've started shipping on Twitch Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 p.m. EST to 11 EST. There's a link to the channel in the description. If you managed to make it all the way through the video and somehow still enjoyed it, please like the video and subscribe for more content of middling quality in the future, and I hope you found the video helpful.